You want to be somebody greater than the person you are today. You see yourself succeeding, you have a vision, you have a dream. Congratulations. You're already 10 steps ahead of 95% of the world. Imagine if Michael Jordan was scared of missing. He would have never taken a shot. Imagine if Steve Jobs was afraid of people not liking his product. There would be no iPhone. So ask yourself this: do you want to be a person who fears failure, or do you want to be a person who loves success? Which one? Because you're going to have to pick today. And I'll tell you one thing: one is a failure and one is a success. And if you love success, there is nothing that can stop you. All those negative things people say will mean nothing. They're gonna talk about how only 1% make it to the top. Big deal. Wanna know something else? Only 1% stick with that fitness program long enough to see results. Only 1% of nerds stick with that video game long enough to get good at it. Only 1% of relationships stick it out to the end. That doesn't mean you have a 1% chance. It just means you can't behave like the 99%. You'll have to do something better than giving up a month from now. Those are just numbers. You want to talk about numbers? Take a look around you and take a good look around you. Are you like 99% of the people around you? If you are, then you're in the wrong video, my friend. You have to love success just as much, because that's what's gonna allow you to get up and go for it. Being scared to fail won't do anything. In fact, when you love success and you start going for it, guess what happens? You're gonna fail. You're gonna fail 10 times, 100 times, maybe even 1,000 times. But that's okay. Failure isn't permanent. Falling isn't permanent. You get right back up and keep going. And this time, you're gonna be stronger, wiser, and you'll be more driven than ever. And for every 10 failures, you'll land one success. You have to love success so much that you're willing to fail 10 times before you can succeed once. That's how a winner does it.
First half, I'm not gonna lie. They had us. We weren't defeated, but they had us. But it took guts, it took an attitude. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to be successful, is an attitude. And that's what our coach told us. He said, hey, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna go out there, you're gonna battle, you're gonna fight, you're gonna do it for one, you're gonna do it for one another. Do it for each other, you're gonna do it for yourself, you're gonna do it for us, and you're gonna go out with this win. And we believe that, we truly did. And it's an awesome feeling. It's an awesome feeling when you truly believe that you're going to be successful. Regardless of the situation, regardless of the scoreboard, you're going to be successful because you put in all the time, all the effort.
Misses that shot, can't land it. So it is going to be that retake scenario. Crims has the kid.
Running close towards CT. Zivnik spots 3 of them out, but it's Olaf again to find device. And Olaf coming in with 4. He wants the ace, and he gets it. There we go. What a superstar performance from that man.
I was walking down the street and I saw an old man. Had a hat, suspenders, and a cane. Was about 80 years old. This old man was barely walking. He could walk, but the cane helped a lot. He was struggling. So anyway, he was walking across the street and he ended up falling. So I went over to go help him. And he gets up, says thank you, and we introduced ourselves. Had a little conversation. Told me his name and I told him mine. His name was Robert, by the way. And right as he walked away, I told him, this is what I said: Robert, you should stay inside where it's safe, my friend. And Robert turns around and says to me, I love walking, and I love walking way more than I'm afraid of falling. So I ask him, well, what about your safety? Don't you want to live? And he told me this. These are the exact words he said. He said this: Solo, living means doing what you love to do. And if I have to fall here and there to do what I want to do in life, then so be it. And he just walked away. Never saw him again. That was it. But that statement really had me thinking, and it had me thinking hard, because I learned something that day. That's when I realized the true key to success. You see, I always thought if I could just fear the act of failing, and if I fear it like crazy, I will succeed. Because I thought the fear would magically motivate me to get out there and start taking action. But after that day, I realized something. I realized it's the love for success that will lead me to succeeding. So just imagine if Robert feared falling. Would he even start walking? Of course not. He wouldn't even do what he loved to do. He would sit at home and take no type of action. But he loved walking. Wasn't even scared to fall. It gave him life. That's what allowed him to get up and do it. He loved walking so much, he was willing to fall 10 times a day just to do it. And you have to be the same. So the next time someone tells you, you're gonna fail, you know what you tell them? Tell them they're right. But you're not afraid to fail. You're not afraid to take action. You're not afraid to jump. You're gonna fail 10 times, but you know what? It's cool. Because on the 11th time, you'll succeed. Oh, you'll succeed, all right. And it'll feel good. And while you're over here living the life of your dreams and complete happiness, guess where they're gonna be? That's right. They'll be failures, the real failures. Over there where it's safe, scared to fail. Ironic, isn't it?
You're still here. And you get another chance this day to do better and be better. Another chance to become more of who you were created and what you were created to fulfill.
Everyone in the world is capable of living outside the role or beyond the roles that they place themselves in, no matter what it is. You're not just a dad, you're not just a banker, you're not just a brother or a son or a convict. It doesn't matter. Like, everyone is bigger, much bigger, infinitely bigger than the roles they place themselves in, and is capable of reaching potential greater than anything they could imagine.
You can live the life you desire. It's right there in front of you. But in order to achieve it, you must first see it, then believe it, and then you must graciously ask and train your brain to help you execute your vision.
So when you start to focus and you delete distraction from your life, and you start to get seriously invested in doing one thing staggeringly well, and you practice that one thing over and over, a term to think about is mundanity. You do one simple, seemingly insignificant thing every day around your main skill, and it's very mundane, but small daily improvements over time lead to world-class results. Well, here's what happens in your brain. You start to isolate a single neurocircuit around that skill, and that starts to trigger a certain type of brain cell called an oligodendrocyte, which then releases myelin. Myelin is a fatty tissue that starts to wrap around that single neurocircuit related to that main skill you've been practicing. And when myelin starts to wrap around the brain circuit, what happens is you have accelerated learning times, you can see more quickly, heightened perception, and you'll learn more quickly. And that is really the quote-unquote secret of the great producers. It's not a result of some natural gift, but their daily practice, their relentlessness and their grit, their work ethic, and their singular focus and sacrifice.
A great life is built not by revolution. A great life is built by evolution. Small and steady wins the race. What you do every day is far more important than what you do once every decade. I want you to really think about that idea. What you do every day is simply your life in miniature. And as you live every single day, so you're crafting your life. What you do over the next hours is really building your future. And if you can just get every single pocket of 24 hours right as best as we humanly can, the rest of our life is going to take care of itself. So small wins matter.
The scripture says we will eat the fruit of our words. You are planting seeds when you talk. At some point, you're going to eat that fruit. My challenge is make sure you're planting the right kind of seeds. If you want apples, you have to sow apple seeds. If you want oranges, you can't plant cactus seeds, poison ivy seeds, mushroom seeds. You're going to reap fruit from the exact seeds that you've been sowing. In other words, you can't talk negative and expect to live a positive life. You can't talk defeat and expect to have victory. You can't talk lack, not enough, can't afford it, never get ahead, and expect to have abundance. If you have a poor mouth, you're going to have a poor life. If you don't like what you're seeing, start sowing some different seeds. We may not realize it, but we're always feeding ourselves. What we watch, listen to, the people we're around, the thoughts we're dwelling on, that's feeding our inner man. If you go to lunch with people that talk bad about the boss, make fun of a coworker, put down a friend, they're feeding you gossip, feeding you jealousy, feeding you disrespect. Here's the key. Whatever you feed is going to grow. You may not like what they're feeding you. You're a nice person. But if you continue to hang around them, before long, you'll be gossiping. You'll be critical. You'll be disrespectful. Why? Because you kept feeding the wrong things. If you're always feeding negative thoughts, thinking, I'll never get well, I'll never meet the right person, you're feeding doubt, feeding mediocrity, feeding fear.
If you know exactly what you want to be, you need to spend as much time with people that are actually that already. You cannot let a fear of failure, or a fear of comparison, or a fear of judgment stop you from doing what's going to make you great. You cannot succeed without this risk of failure. You cannot have a voice without the risk of criticism. And you cannot love without the risk of loss. You must go out and you must take these risks.
You don't have the time to waste time, because time doesn't wait till you discover your purpose. If you don't know why you was born, time is still moving. And if you discover your purpose at 90 years old, it's too late.
You don't know how young you are. What if you die in 2 years? You're pretty old right now. You got 2 years left. And if you're 50 years old and you're feeling discouraged, well, remember the advice about planting a tree. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago or today? So if you're 50 and you feel like life left you behind, well, get started right now. Better late than never. Better late than never. Don't think about time and age so much. It gets people distracted. When the whole world's distracted, you be focused.
You have to trust your own voice, your own ideas, your honesty, your vulnerability. And through this, you will find your way. You do not have to be fearless. Just don't let fear stop you. Live like this as best you can, and I guarantee you will look back on a life well lived. You are capable of greatness in your profession, and more importantly, in your quality of self. Stay hungry. Stay young at heart. Take those risks. You are going to change the world around you in big ways and in small.
But see, anybody, if you want to, can go searching for a good plan, pick it, and start working it. And sure enough, as the time passes, as it surely will 5 years from now, 10 years from now, then you'll be winding up wearing what you want to wear, driving what you want to drive, living where you want to live, become what you want to become. But now's the time to fix the next 10 years. And who can? Anybody.
You were created to give life and make a difference with your gift somewhere. That's why you came to this place.
You want to improve? You want to get better? You want to get on a workout program or a clean diet? You want to start a business? You want to write a book or make a movie or build a house or a computer or put together some mobile application? Where do you start? You start right here. And when do you start? You start right now. You initiate the action aggressively. You go.
I just want to win. That's what they'll always say. They see these people, these incredible players who sacrificed everything and worked constantly to improve and be at the peak of their level and gave up almost everything and battled, and really all that was in these guys' minds was trying to win and trying to be the best. They hear the way they talk. They have this logic of, well, if he talks that way and he was a winner, then I'm trying to play and I'm trying to be good, so I'll talk that way and I'll adopt that mindset. And while the mindset is good, they don't bring with it all the other aspects of it. What they don't realize is that mindset, that philosophy, is the end stage. It's the verbal expression of an actual philosophy of their life, which took place in action, in small decisions that took place every day of their lives, to have a hard practice, to practice with purpose. All the things that went into it, these people haven't studied. They've just heard what's said, and then they're parroting the same things and thinking if they just try, that trying is enough. It's not enough. The actions that these people take do not match up. Like, for example, they might say that they practice hard. Okay, they might practice hard, like the practice might be there, and they might play hard within the practice, but do they do the hard practice? That's a different thing. Those are the things that are difficult to do. Maybe they're very draining in the amount of time you have to put in, or the amount of mental effort and concentration on this practice, whereas you could just let that go a bit and relax a bit more and be half in, half out in the practice, and you're there at the practice, you're playing in the practice, maybe you're even succeeding in the practice in a relative sense, you're winning the games or you're doing decently in them, but are you actually applying yourself with purpose? Are you doing the boring practice? Are you doing the practice where all you do is work on the basics that even the beginner learns, and you're just making sure these are refined, these are perfected, and then pushing for that extra 1% that might not seem like much in the context of it, but could be the difference that makes you the great player, that makes you win this next match? Are you doing these things? Most of these players are not. Do it right so that you don't have to spend more time doing it over later. It's the idea that to fix something later might be harder than putting in the initial hard effort to do it the correct way now and refine it now. It's about practicing with purpose. It's not about just playing to win the practice or to win a single game. It's about practicing so that you improve and that you get the best aspects of your game to a high level, you minimize mistakes, and then a natural byproduct of that will be success and winning. You don't need to focus on winning the actual game. You need to focus on playing your best and making the best decisions and minimizing your mistakes. Then you will win games, you will win series, you will win tournaments, you will improve as a player, and as long as you're improving as a player, you will ascend through the ranks. It's irrelevant whether you win this game, because you can win this game and you can win the next game, but will you win the third game when you play the better player who you needed to have all these aspects in full refinement to be able to beat him? No, you won't, because you haven't worked on that. That hasn't been a goal of yours. Your goal was just to win. Do you DM every day with all the different weapons? Do you practice your proper technique in DM? Do you not just go for headshots in DM, but in a real game you just spray into the body? when you're in a practice game, do you practice the actual strategy? Do you do it in an offhanded manner and go, don't worry, in the real game, it'll be okay? Well, the way that you practice is the way you're going to play in the game. It's the way you're going to be most comfortable. It's the way your habits will be formed. So if you practice sloppily and like a fuckhead, then you're going to play sloppily and like a fuckhead in the game. And then when it happens, you're going to go, that's not who I am. Like, I'm a better player than that. I know my skills better. No one gives a shit, mate. Do it in the game, or no one gives a flying fuck what you can do in practice. There was an all-time great player called Potty. He was one of the most well-rounded players in history. He practiced incredible amounts, even in empty servers. He was someone who'd studied the game a lot. He'd played incredible amounts of hours. He played tons and tons and tons of LANs, and he was so clutch and so amazing on LAN. And so when he went to these CPL events, North American and European ones, the best tournaments at the time, he had something like 9 where he made like the finals, or won like 5 or 6 or whatever it was. And the thing about this guy was, he was so used to being excellent and always figuring out how to get back to that excellent level that there was a tournament once where he went with a newer lineup, tried out a couple of younger players who hadn't had a lot of experience at that level, and it was CPL Winter 2002. And he was used to winning events. He was used to coming top 2 at worst. And at this tournament, he came 3rd. And his team did well to come 3rd, and they had matches where they were outmatched and outclassed by some of the better teams, and things broke their own way at the key point, like 11-11 on Inferno, whatever it was, versus the Game Online team of Element. And okay, he could have said, like another player, well, good tournament, new roster, yeah, we still got 3rd, 3rd's good, right? I remember looking at this guy's face when he was on the podium and he received the 3rd place check, and he looked on his face like someone in his family had died, because he realized, this is nothing. I have the potential to be a champion. I have been a champion before. I will probably be a champion in the future. What have I done wrong to be in a position where I'm 3rd now? What could I have done differently? Now, to other people, they say, hey, relax, enjoy 3rd place. Those are the people who aren't doing everything to win. They are willing to accept failure. The greatest champions of all time seriously say, the day you win, you're jubilant, you have this joy, it feels incredible, you feel all this energy coming forwards, you love your teammates, you love the things you've accomplished, but the next day, it dawns upon you, if you're a true winner, someone who sacrificed everything to be a champion, you realize the next season is going to begin in a few months. And this last season now was amazing, but that's gone. And so I have to now win the next season. And it's that obsessive drive that makes these guys the greatest champions of all time.